Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome to episode number 110 of the John Riley Project. It is Sunday, February, is it the 9th? The 9th, yeah. I think it's the 9th. Very pleased to have here as my guest, Mike Ryan.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me again,
Good
man.
to see you.
I appreciate it.
You know, Mike was, was a guest here not too long ago with your book here, The Heart of the Lion.
Right.
So I brought a copy just to share it. But Mike, you're a Poway guy, and
yep.
You know we're friends. Our wives are friends. Our children friends. Everything's great. How you been?
Good. Yeah, no complaints. You know, working hard every day, and just finishing raising kids here pretty soon, and by next year and a half or so, we'll be empty nesters.
Right on.
Unless my daughter stays in San Diego.
Yeah, it's an amazing time, when your children are growing up and they're going away to college, and the dynamics in the household change.
Yeah.
And, it's something.
It definitely made a difference with my son being gone.
Yeah.
Not having him there, and we share a lot of same interests, not necessarily music and stuff like that. We do have some similarities, but cars and that kind of stuff. So with him not being there, I kind of miss having him around, so we can share certain things and bounce things off each other. But we still do that over the phone and when he comes home. Right on.
So you're talking about cars, so. I've always known that you're a big, not just a Nissan guy, but a Datsun guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've told me you have a few cars. I mean, kind of walk me through. What's your collection like?
So not only am I a Datsun guy, but and we have a lot of cars, and but not only am I Datsun guy, I'm transitioning into Subarus.
Subarus.
Yeah, I have a 2019 Subaru STI out there, and been in the Subarus last 3 years. I've transitioned to three cars already. Tommy's got my 17 WRX, and I have the which the WRX and the STI are they look exactly alike. Just the horsepower is different.
Right.
So, anyways, I got bit by the bug for the Subaru bug, but my heart started out with Datsuns way back when, and I have two of them, 271 240Zs in the garage. And I'm just a big fan. So I'm trying to trade time between the Subaru community and the Datsun community. And it's been really neat because the really special thing about being a car guy is when you go to these events or when you join a club or when you go to these meetups, you meet some really, really cool people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You meet some knuckleheads, too. Don't get me wrong.
Right, of course.
They're out there on social media, and they're out there when they come to the meets, and they always have something to say, and that's fine. Everybody's got an opinion, and that's totally cool. But the car scene is a really neat and enjoyable scene for not only me, but for the whole family. Galit and the kids used to come to a lot of the events that we would have with the San Diego Z Club. I've been a San Diego Z Club member since 1998.
Oh, cool.
And it's a Datsun Nissan Z Club member, our Z Club. So everything from 1970 to today. And you don't have to have a Z car to be a member, but, predominantly it's a Z Club. So, which is a lot of fun. My kids have been raised in those cars. I've got pictures of my kids in them. So I just fell in love with them years ago. It's kind of hard to tell you, to explain the fascination, but
they're cool cars. I mean, and I remember, back in the 1970s, and I was paying attention to cars, and they were Datsun then, and then was maybe around 1980 is when they became Nissan, right?
Yeah, somewhere in the so Nissan is the company, the main company.
Right.
Datsun was a small I don't know what you call it, like a child, like a small child part of the company. It's a small piece of the company, but Nissan as a whole, Datsun is Nissan.
So Nissan is maybe like General Motors, and then Datsun was like Chrysler or something. Not Chrysler, but
they're a small piece of the pie.
Like Buick or something.
Because now if you look at Nissan as a whole, Infiniti is Nissan.
Right, yeah, I know that.
Nissan. So it's kind of like that. I'm sure that some of my Datsun friends out there will, how could you forget this and that or whatever, you know? But, you know, it's been a long time since I've actually dug into the history and how it all started with Datsun. And I think it was the Japanese. Nissan's always been around. They were Nissan, and then they had the Datsun line, and they wanted to introduce it as something fresh and new to the U.S. And it's funny that the 240Z started out as the Fair Lady Z. And a real Fair Lady Z is a right-hand drive car in Japan. It's a 240Z, but it's right-hand drive, and it was coined as the Fair Lady. Well, they didn't think that the Americans, and I know some of my guys are going to correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't think that the Americans were going to take too kindly to the word Fair Lady for a car.
Right. And
now, because it's got such a big following, that people are putting Fair Lady badges on the sides of their cars where it says, you know, Datsun 240Z or something. It's saying Fair Lady now on the bottom. People are buying the badges and putting them on there. So they introduced the car to the U.S. market as a 240Z.
So what is, there's the 240, the 260, the 280. Is that just the size of the engine?
Yeah, exactly. So my car has a 2.4 liter motor in it. I have two 71 240Zs. One's pretty stock. It's got the original motor in it, and my white 240Z that I named Blanca, you know, and I do the videos or Blanca time, you know, and because I'm a clown, so I like to have fun with it. That one's modified. It's got upgraded carburetors. They're triple carbs. They're called Mikuni carburetors, Japanese carbs. The original carbs that were on that car were SU carburetors. They're dual carbs. And the old Jaguars ran them, and the old Roadsters, things like that. And those carbs are great. But if you want looking for horsepower, if you're looking for, you know, more get up, you're going to go with that third carburetor. You're going to go with that big carburetor to put on there so you can get more power out of it. Everybody wants more power.
Right.
You know, for the old tuner guys back in the day, that was how you got your horsepower. Whereas nowadays people are using tuners with computers and big turbos and other things to get their cars to go faster. And you know, tuning's never it's old school versus new school. The bottom line, it's tuning. You're trying to make a car go faster than it was when it came out of the showroom floor. You want to have more fun with it.
These are all stick shifts, right?
Yeah. Mine are all standards. Yeah, I have. They came with 4 speeds, but both my Zs have 5 speeds in them now from a later model car, from 280Zs or 280ZXs.
So did you teach your son to drive a stick?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I taught him in the Subaru. So I bought my first Subaru was a 2017 WRX.
Yeah.
Loved that car. He's got it right now up in the Bay Area where he goes to school. It was kind of sad how it all worked out for me, but I ended up coming out on top later on. So we got that car. He's driven my Z before once, I think it was. I was teaching him a little bit on that. That car is actually much easier to drive as a standard than the later model cars.
Right.
And the reason being is, so your throttle, you know, your gas pedal has linkage. And it that's, you know, you hit that, it's immediate. It revs up. Well, your later model cars nowadays are drive-by-wire. The throttles are drive-by-wire. It's all computerized. So when you're hitting it, you're faster than the computer. You could actually hit that pedal faster before it actually engages.
Right.
And it drives me crazy because these new cars are like that. And you could have a 300 horsepower car, but you know, you're going to be quicker off the line with this 50-year-old car because you got the power immediately right there. So it's fun. It's funny because I actually enjoy driving my Z a lot of times over my STI. My STI is a fun car to drive. It's fast. It handles great. You know, the car is a rally car. It's built to handle. It's built for off-road. It's built to go out and have fun with. It's not, you know, you roll up to me with a Challenger, you know, 600-700 horsepower, 500 horsepower Challenger, I'm going to lose that race on a straight. But what makes that car fun to drive is take it up to Julian or you know, Mount Palomar or something like that, and the twisties, it'll put a smile on your face because it just handles so great. Now my Z, because it's such old technology, that car handles really good for its age, and it's light. It's such a tiny car.
There's no back seat in that, is it? Just a 2-seater?
No. So the funny thing about that So back to the Z cars. The funny thing about the Z cars is they used to be able to get a jump seat as an option. And so between the seats, you used to put this jump seat, which some people sometimes sell. And I actually wanted to buy one just as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like just as a kind of a prop piece.
Like a novelty or something.
That's the word, novelty. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So like a novelty. And so you were able to put the seat right in the middle between the two seats and fasten it to the deck. And you could put a child in that seat.
Oh my God.
And that's how sometimes kids roll around. But back in the day, back in 1970, before people got really careful, they would throw kids in the back of the deck of that car. And they would lay down while you're driving around. And that, I mean, come on, we were kids growing up. My mom had old station wagons, and we would always be in the very far back. Oh, you know, it's a deck. You're sitting back there hanging out, just relaxing and having fun.
Oh, I mean, when you first said you were in, I didn't know you were into Subarus too. And I remember the first Subaru I ever saw was the Subaru Brat.
Yeah.
And it was a little pickup with the seats in the back pointed the other way with the handlebars.
Right.
Yeah, those were something too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you know what's funny is I went through the same experience with my son and a stick shift because I mostly drive electric cars, and I had a BMW i3, and then I was waiting. The lease ended on that, and then I was waiting to get my Hyundai Kona, and there was about a 9-month window in between, and I bought a Volkswagen GTI, a stick shift. And
that's the one I saw up there.
Yeah, it's the one
that's
out
when
there.
You're driving around?
That's what I was driving for a while, and then when I got my Kona, I gave my son the GTI.
Yeah.
And so he had to learn the stick shift,
right,
you know?
Right.
And it just felt like a cool rite of passage, you know, because we went through that as kids, and it's a neat skill, I think, for someone to have, even though it's so rarely used these days.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, now more than ever, they're going more towards automatics. And it's kind of sad because they're starting to go more away from that. And you have the Tiptronic, you know, that kind of deal. Yeah. And you know, I mean, even your Lamborghinis are Tiptronic nowadays. I mean, the paddle shifters.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of that. To me, that takes away from the sport car enthusiasm.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, you want to be, you're a sports car enthusiast. You should be driving a stick shift, not an automatic. And so what happened was, like, I've driven Z cars for years. I've had about 15 Z cars over the last 23 years. And if you ask my wife, she just shakes her head. You know, it's funny because I've had so many nice ones. I've had some cool stories on some of the cars that I've had. I've met some really, really special people, some neat people over the years, some people that are no longer with us, unfortunately, that I've got a chance to experience a relationship with, a friendship. And, you know, it's really special. So for me to drive those cars, take one up to Julian one day, go get some apple pie, and to shift through those gears and to listen to that car wind out. Just, you know, it's got a straight 6 motor in it, 2.4. Now, nowadays, a 2.4 is a decent sized 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, it's a long straight 6 block, and you could really wind those cars out. You know, they're a lot of fun when you've got them hopped up nicely, you know. And I have a ball when I take mine up through the twisties because it does handle very well, and it's got pretty decent power. The car is probably, I don't know, 2,400 pounds, and there's nothing to it. It's very thin sheet metal. You know, if you get in an accident with it, you know. But I see a lot of people walk away from those cars for some reason, you know, and there's nothing to them. But so they don't have all the safety features. They got flimsy seat belts and brakes, and that's pretty much about it, you know. So yeah, it's something that was very passionate for me, and I guess I got bit by the Datsun bug years ago. My grandfather had an old, I think 710 pickup. I think they're 710s or 720. I can't remember exactly, but it was an old Datsun pickup, and he just loved that truck. Little tiny truck. That thing was a soldier. He drove it everywhere. And in my junior year in high school, I started work summer after my junior year in high school. I started working in the grocery industry, and I was a bagger, and I was 17 years old. And I was looking for my first car, and there's a guy that worked on the night crew. He had an orange one. I used to see him roll up with it every day. And it reminded me, and I fell in love with those cars when I saw him rolling up. I loved that car. It had the old slotted mags,
yeah,
mag wheels. And if I can back up just a bit, in my 8th grade year in junior high school, I had a teacher that used to talk about the Z car that he had. Oh, my Z's in the shop right now, but when I get it back, I'm gonna bring it to school. I'll show you guys. One morning, I was in the parking lot. He comes rolling in with this 240Z. It's white. It had some decals on it or something. I can't even remember. So long ago, and it had that Z sound to it, kind of a rumble to it, and everything. And I'm like, that's a cool car. And ever since I was a kid, I've always loved the body style, the lines.
Yeah, it's a good looking car.
They're timeless. They're beautiful lines. And, it's amazing what you can do to those cars, just subtle things that really set it off. It doesn't take much because the Japanese Nissan did a great job when they actually put that car together. One of the coolest things for me was being able to raise my son and him be around those cars. We had Z-Con here back in 2014. And Z-Con is every Z. It's a big,
mm-hmm.
Whatever you call it. It's a big event.
Like a convention.
It's Z-Car. That's exactly what it is. A Z-Car convention. It was the 2014 Z-Car convention, Z-Con. It very rarely comes to San Diego. I think the last time it came to San Diego was 20 years prior to that. It's all over the country, and it's huge every time. So Tommy was probably, because that was 6 years ago, so he was about 13. And Sarah was obviously probably around 10 or whatever. And we stayed at the Kona Kai Resort down in Point Loma. That's
mm-hmm.
where we had the actual car show, and they blocked off a huge section of the parking lot for us. So a lot of us parked there. But that wasn't the end of it, though. That was the actual car show if you entered it. And we stayed at the hotel, even though we live up here. We live here in San Diego.
Yeah.
We stayed at the hotel because we wanted the full experience.
Yeah, right on.
Well, some of the older people that were involved with the whole Datsun deal back in the day, Mr. K, they called him the father of the Z. He's Yutaka Katayama. And he came to the U.S. to promote the Datsun line and the Z car. They called him the father of the Z. And now I don't have all the specifics on that one because it's been so long. I was telling you earlier, it's been so long.
But he was at the convention?
He wasn't there. He passed away a few years back. He lived to be, I believe, 105.
105? Wow. Well, the people in Japan have a long lifespan because they eat well, a lot of sushi.
Well, Mr. K really liked onion rings.
Really?
Yeah, he really liked onion. So the only time I met Mr. K was probably back in 2000, early 2000s. We had a meet and greet at this gentleman's house. His name was John Parker, and he was a partner with Mr. K, down here, and through Datsun, Nissan, or whatever. And I don't remember his role, but he invited us, the Z Club, San Diego Z Club, to the house, and we had a barbecue, and we had, all this stuff going on. Mr. K was signing everybody back then. Yeah. Back then, he was like probably 90 something.
Yeah, but he's like a god, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So he was such a really nice man. Yeah. And my wife got some stuff for me. She bought from eBay or something, and she snuck it over to Mr. K and had him sign it for me and everything. She's awesome.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. And then I got a chance to sit with him, put my arm around him, and take pictures with him and stuff. And he signed stuff for me. And he asked me, he goes, "So, what kind of Z do you have?" And I go, I have a 1970 240. That was my first 240. My first Z was a 78. My second Z was the 240Z, the 1970, and that's the holy grail. 69, they actually came out in 69. People call them 69s. Came out in October, I believe, of 69, and they're the low number ones, like the first 500. Mm-hmm. And people they just, oh, it's a 69. I'm like, well, it might have came out in 69, but it was basically sold as a 70 model.
Right.
But people are, those guys would really dig having those 60.
So you have a 70?
I had a 70.
Okay.
The two I have right now are both 71s.
But still, that's really early.
It's early, but 70 is the holy grail. That's the one you want, an early 70.
Right.
Mine was in April of 70. So it was 6 months after, they came out or whatever it was. So it was number 2800 or 2600. I can't remember off the showroom floor, but it didn't have the matching numbers engine, but it was a nice car.
It's like a rookie baseball card, It's like you got the first ones.
Yeah, one of the first. Yeah, one of the pre 3000s at least, and he was excited to hear that it was a 70, and that meant something to me. That was really cool, and so meeting him was one of those pinnacle things. He signed some stuff for me, and he also signed my visor.
Oh wow!
I have a visor put away that he signed, and that was one of my special collectibles that I have.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And Mr. K signed something. It's it's gold. You got to hold on to it. It's sentimental for me. I've had it packed away for the longest time. I've never put it in another Z car. I took it out once I had it signed. I got other visors and put them in my car. And I never put it in there displayed. I may have displayed it at my 70, but when I sold it, I think I took it out then.
Yeah.
And so back to ZCon back in 2014. So the designer of the 240Z, who's still with us, Mr. Matsuo. I don't remember his first name, but he was really neat. He's little Japanese guy, and he's walking around, got his little baseball cap on, and he's cruising around, and the cool thing about that is he signed my glove box cover, my glove box door. He signed it, and
nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. And Tommy, that kid, I swear, I love that kid. He's just persistent. He's chasing down all the oldies that are walking around there. And I don't mean to be disrespectful by saying that, but what I mean is some of the people that have been around for many years, right?
Yeah, I know. It's all good.
And he's chasing down Mr. Matsuo, getting autographs on his poster. He also got autograph from Randy Rodriguez, who was the designer of the 370. And Randy also signed my glove box door. And it is really cool watching him get excited for the the whole enthusiast scene for the Z cars, and I loved it. That's, as a father, it's one of those things where it's a proud moment because he's sharing your experience, and he's able to. And my wife and daughter were there too, and it was really cool for everybody. We all had a good time. It was a lot of fun. So that finished up. I didn't get any trophies for my car, they actually, but I got a lot of really nice compliments about it because they had a really nice clean engine bay.
Yeah.
He goes, you got a lot of really nice things about this car. You're just a little bit off here and there. You fix some of these things, and you could come out with something. And
these are collectors with an eye, for all the
these
detail.
are actual people that know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
This isn't people's choice where you got some, Joe Schmo walking through there and going, well, I like that car the best, I'm voting for it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's categories. There's actual categories, and you have to know what you're looking for. And people's choice really kills it for everybody, because you could put a lot of work in your car and have it completely bone stock or 100% with everything on it and lose. That's happened to me before, and it still, to this day, still bites at me because it was we were invited to another group's showing. And it always seems like their club members tend to come away with the trophies, and we get kind of snuffed. And they're bringing all their friends and everybody there, and everybody's doing the people choice thing. Well, John, I had the only, at the time, because I've gone through so many Z cars, but I had the only bone stock original 240Z at that meetup.
Wow.
At that showing, and they gave it to the win. They gave the win to an older gentleman who had so what happens is when you go to show and you put on your card, stock or modified. I'm sorry, stock or modified.
Right.
Okay. Well, he put stock, OEM, original, manufacturer equipment or whatever. And I'm thinking, when I saw that he got that trophy, that win, I know his car is parked behind mine. And I looked at his car. I told the president, the then president of our group, I said, hey, how's this guy coming away with a trophy? His car's not OEM. His car's not stock.
Yeah.
He's got a modified interior. He's got chrome and polish and everything going on in his engine bay. I mean, yeah, you clean it up and everything, and maybe the engine is matching, but my car is a timepiece. Almost every original part is sitting on that car right now. How did I lose? I was so angry with the whole situation because every time we go up there, there's a lot of favoritism. And he goes, hey, I know. And I even talked to the president of the other club. And he goes, you know what? I know. He goes, I even voted for your car because it is the only one here. I don't know how this guy win it then. And I'm here talking to the president of my group.
Because this was a people's choice, right?
People's choice, but it was an unfair advantage for this other gentleman because he put down original. His car wasn't original.
But it looked like special because it was all
nicely cleaned up. Yeah. It looked pretty. My car wasn't as pretty, but it was clean. It just wasn't as pretty. But my car was the only original car there. His car was obviously modified now because he modified the interior.
Yeah.
He had different wheels on it. I had stock wheels on my car. The whole car was original. And I was sitting there going, this is one of the love and hate things I have about being in the car, being a car enthusiast, is if you get involved in these shows and things like that, you have to really have thick skin because unfortunately, as such as life with anything else that we do in business or personal, whatever it is that we do, there's always some kind of a bias or some kind of a favoritism there, you know? So what happened was the guy that won, he was I think he might have recently passed a couple years ago. He's much older than I am. And he's sitting there, right? And he can hear me. I know he can hear me. I'm going off. And I'm talking to
I could like picture this.
I'm talking to my president, right? Yeah. And I'm going, how can this guy win? His car wasn't stock.
Right.
It wasn't original. And the guy, he's looking at his, he's kind of like sitting there and he's looking at his trophy like this, his plaque that he got. And I kind of felt that because he heard me, that maybe he felt guilty about it. And I just felt that maybe he was going to turn and go, hey man, you deserve it. Cause but it never happened, never panned out. But I think he knew that I made it, obviously a big stink about it because it wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
It was this guy, here's an older gentleman, a retired military guy and everything else. He always wore his hat. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, buddy, not cool. Not cool, but it's one of those things where you live and learn. And, since I've got this white one that I have now, I've won trophies with it. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. This is the only Z car. I've had a lot of Z cars, and this one by far has smoked them all as far as the compliments, trophies, the admiration that I've gotten for it, the thumbs up. This one is just, I don't know what it was, but the other one I have, the gray one that I have, I actually bought that car back in 2006 from the original owner, sold it a year later to a guy in Phoenix who's about 20 years my senior. And lo and behold, about a year and a half or so ago, he calls me up and messages me and says, hey, I got to downsize. I'm getting older. And my wife and I are getting rid of some things. He goes, would you like to buy the Z back? The car had been gone for 11 years. It was in Phoenix. And I'm going, oh, man. Heck yeah. I want that car back. I should have never sold it.
Yeah. How often do you ever get a chance to buy something back?
It's happened to me twice. My 70, I sold that one. And a year later, the guy called me up and said, I want to sell it, and so I bought it back and I had it for a few months, but I had too many things going on at the time and I ended up selling it. And I probably should have kept that one, but you know what? I have the cars that I'm supposed to have. I have the things in my life that I'm supposed to have. These are things that worked out, and I'm holding on to those things because of the sentimental value to them. But so I ended up getting the car back. I had it trailered out here and put it right in the garage, and it's been there, and we drive it around every now and then. The white one that I have, the one that I'm getting all the accolades for and everything, I purchased that one from an actual race car driver. He raced back in the day for many years. His name was Tony Adamowicz, and his nickname was A2Z. Tony A2Z Adamowicz. And because his last name started with A and ended with a Z. And okay. He was A2Z racer, and they called him A2Z and stuff like that. And hell of a nice guy. Just incredible to talk to him. He's a wealth of racing information, just a wonderful man. He passed away a few years back. And was a great guy to have around. And when I got connected with him to purchase his car, I had everybody and their mother coming up to me saying, "You better not sell this car. You better not sell this car. You better hold on to this." So I'm going on. I think I've had the car 6.5 years now. It's probably the longest Z car I've ever had, you know. I mean, so anyways, that, you know, that's it's very sentimental to me. He signed my glove box door as well, and he signed it the day I bought it from him, and we kept in touch until he passed. And that was one of those things that, you know, one of those relationships you build that really bring the car group together, you know, the closeness, that camaraderie.
Oh yeah.
And
because you share a common bond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm with the you know, the Subaru group as well. I still belong to the San Diego Z Club. Unfortunately, I don't go to a lot of their events because they fall on just bad timing for me. But so a really good friend of mine, who's one of my mechanics also, and I've known him for many, many years. He's a Z guy and a Subaru guy as well, and he races hardcore. And I got bit by the bug from him, and I started, you know, buying Subarus, and I love those cars. They're neat. They're a lot of fun to drive, and I belong to North County Subies. They're a group, you know, reside out of like San Marcos, Escondido, Oceanside area, and any, you know, they brought me in recently, gave me my sticker, put it on the car, and you know, they really liked me and liked what I had to bring to the table. It was awesome. You know, I'm an older guy, and I think they respected me because of the fact that I'm a car guy. I'm not some knucklehead that's just coming here, you know, wanting to hang out and park and post up and just, you know, be a knucklehead. I want to be part of the group. I'm passionate about cars, and that's just something that I've always been into. You know, sports was big for me, and you know, obviously working out when I was younger was big for me. And but cars really, it's, I don't know, it's a fascination. It's an addiction.
I think it's cool. Like, now, granted, I'm not a big, you know, I mean, I enjoy driving my electric car, but I've always seen that, you know, the Zs from a distance, and always thought they were pretty special. Yeah. When I discovered that you really were into it, I was like, oh, neat. And the thing that's, I think is really special is that you meet people along the way, and that they have a passion about, you know, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it turns into a passion project, maybe they go really deep down that rabbit hole of that category, and you realize there's this whole world. There's like a Z-Con, you know, there's these famous people within that niche. There's local clubs, and then you meet those people and you share that common bond, you share that love, you build these special relationships. And then people like me, I'm just going about my business having no idea that there's this whole like subculture that's completely into, in this case, the Z cars. And you know, a lot of my guests on this podcast, like Pete Neild, was really into the Corvettes, and there are other people that are into not just cars, but all these other categories of life.
Yeah.
Like I have a cousin right now. She's at the Westminster Dog Show in New York City this weekend, and I'm like, wow, you know, just. And that's a whole deep, deep world.
Oh, I can imagine. I've watched the shows on TV.
Yeah.
It's very involved. I mean, the actual shows.
Oh, yeah.
Dogs ready and raise them and prep them all their whole lives for these shows.
Yeah.
That's
it's a huge deal. You know? And she, you know, she goes to all these local events and regional events and travels, and they have, you know, there's people, and like, just like with the Z Club, there's famous people and a whole subculture.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating to me, you know, when you learn about how deep some of these things go.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I've met some really special people in the group and being in the community. And one of the really special ones I've also met was John Morton. There was an old Z commercial years ago when the 240 first came out, and he's pulling up. He's driving around his race car, his 240Z race car. He's coming around the track. He gets out, and there's like this brand new 240Z stock just sitting there, and he gets out and makes a little speech on the commercial, and he's got his glasses on, and he gets in the car. He turns on the music, and that song, dun 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 dun. You know, he's driving off with the Z car. I'm just cracking up. I'm going, I remember this old commercial, and it was just one of those things where I had a chance to meet him. He's like 76 years old. He's still racing a 240Z, and you know, he raced for BRE. I think it was Brock Racing, Brock Enterprises, and Brock, Pete Brock. It's called BRE. The one of the cool things to do to your Z car is to go retro and set your car up like a BRE Z car. They're usually white on the bottom, red on top, and then they have like stripes on the side. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen pictures of my car. My wife have the red stripes on the side.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Well, there's I think it's red, and then it breaks up and goes blue on the bottom, and then it says Datsun on the side. So, anyways, I got a chance to meet him and Pete Brock, and I got autographs. So, for me, that's one of those things where, it segues into so many different avenues by meeting people like that because it's networking.
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
Everything that we do is networking. So for me, cars was a way to network to go into other areas. We talked about dogs. Well, a lot of my Datsun buddies are, they're dog guys, like they're dog parents, just like we are.
Yeah, right.
So it's funny because you start not only you just talk about cars, you talk about family. You talk about what's in your family, who's in your family.
Yeah.
So you're sitting down and you get to know and get personal with these people, and you get to really know who they are. You talk about their kids. What are the kids doing? It's not all about cars. Cars are the doorway to the bigger picture.
But you otherwise never would have met them. They probably live 20 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles away.
Some people down the street.
And some
people down the street from where I live. I know a family, Rick Sr., Rick Jr. I'll just call them out. I don't think they're going to mind. But so I met Junior years ago. He's 25 or 26 years old. So obviously I got a lot of years on him. I met him because I don't know if he flagged me down one day. He saw me driving my Z. He was driving a 240SX, Nissan 240SX. And it was a cool car. I don't know how we met. I forget how we met. We talked and I think he wanted to buy it at one point and never panned out. He was probably 18 at the time. And this was probably 7 years ago. It's 10 years ago. And I would see him around town. Every now and then we'd wave to each other or whatever and talk. And the deal never worked out with that, and he went on to other things. And his dad's a big 510 guy. The Datsun 510s.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's like a little coupe or like a four-door, or was it a two
or four-door?
Yeah.
And they're really neat cars. They're really coming up. They're last several years have been, the Z car and the 510s have really been going up in price, and people have really been fixing them up nice. So I met that family, and I got to know his dad by going to the meets. And his dad's a few years younger than me, and met his mom, and just it's great family. They lived right down the street from me the whole time, and I've known that. Ricky lived over there, and he's always talked about his dad having 510s. But I've been to the house, and I've seen the cars in the garage, and we talked and stuff and hung out. But there's people that were in Poway that were Datsun. I know 3 or 4 people right now that are big Datsun people that I met just word of mouth, and some lived. One of my buddies lived at my old neighborhood off of Standish, around that area.
Yeah.
He's a 510 guy, and it's these guys are all younger than I am, but it's one of those it's one of those things that people get, they get bitten by that bug, and then all of a sudden you start meeting other people, and you start becoming friends and start realizing that it's bigger than the car,
right? Yeah, because we meet people, we build connections with people we work with. A lot of, with our children as they're being raised, it's, the parents of our children's friends, we build relationships, but there's always that linkage. And in this case, it's the linkage of the passion for the Z car or the passion for Nissan.
Exactly.
That's cool.
It's very relatable to sports or your job or anything else, right? I mean, you go to a sporting event, you play sports, your kids play sports. You meet parents, you meet people.
Yeah. So you created a Facebook page, you told me.
So me and a buddy of mine who unfortunately passed away last year, he was a young guy too. He was in an unfortunate accident. I told him I want to make these decals for the car. And I made these decals. I drew this picture of a 240Z, and he put the lettering across the top and it said S30 Life. That I coined the phrase. I drew the picture. It was my idea completely.
So what? Say it again.
S30 Life.
Life. Okay. All
S30
right.
Life. And remember, I was telling you, where the S30 comes from is the VIN number on the Z cars starts out HLS30, and then it goes into the VIN number.
Yeah, yada yada.
And the VIN number is like nothing compared to what you have nowadays. Nowadays, it's thousand numbers and letters.
No,
you know,
really.
you try writing down a VIN number, and you're going, "Oh man, this is taking forever."
Yeah.
You know, it's very small VIN number on the old cars, and so what I did was I made a page because I wanted to sell the decals, and I wanted to create something that was mine, and that was for the Z cars from 70 to 78.
Yeah.
And only, you know, that's all I wanted. You know, I didn't want anybody popping on their Mustangs or,
Yeah.
and which they did from time to time. And I booted people for that, you know, or I've told them, I've warned them, you know. But anyways, I created a page and he created a page at the same time. I'm like, because I think he was trying to help me, right? His page was better. I mean, what he created, I liked better because he was a little more savvy with the computer stuff and putting it together. So I canceled mine, and we went with the one that he designed for me and for the group. And I was the sole admin. I'm still the sole admin. I've got almost 5,700 members.
5,700.
I've got closing in on 6,000.
Wow.
And I'm the only admin that runs that page.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's kind of a pain too at the same time. But I've got a lot of good guys on there, and they let me know when there's something going on, because I can't be on there every day. And you know, the thing about it is, and I don't on that page. It's strictly about cars. It's information. It's selling parts. It's posting pictures of your car. Sometimes people want to try to get political. They'll put memes up there, and I'll delete them.
Yeah,
and then
get that out of there.
And then they'll try to call me out on it or whatever. And I'm just zero. I don't mess around. I don't mess around. These guys know I run a clean page. I don't deal with a lot of foul language, even though it does happen, and I don't mind it. But when it gets out of control, you start attacking people, then I start booting you out. And I've banned several people. I booted just recently. I booted 3 people out within a week because of their attitudes. You know, I'm big on that. If you don't have the right attitude for the group, you're not going to be welcome here.
Well, they'll create a cancer, and it'll make people not want to come back. And that makes sense. You got to police it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's other pages out there that are Datsun pages. They take all comers, and they've got 30,000 plus people. Or closing in on 40,000 people, or they've got 10, 15,000 people. You look at it, and here I am with my 5,700 people.
Still a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot. I started, and I to this day I don't know. A lot of it happened word of mouth, but the thing, it just exploded.
Well, but Facebook does that because if you're doing Nissan stuff, Z stuff, they'll recommend pages, or it'll pop up, and then they'll click to join and. Yeah.
It's been a special ride for me because I do take a lot of pride in that. And I want people on there to enjoy themselves. They're like, thank you, man. They'll reach out to me personally. They'll say, we appreciate the fact that you're running the page the way you are, because it's hard to go to these other pages and not get, absolutely ridiculed for asking a dumb question, or for just posting up my car and getting just torn apart because of what I've done to it or whatever. And I'm not about that. My thing is, this is supposed to be a place for you to come to and share what you've learned by your car, by doing what you've done to your car. It's not about, hey, I'm better than you, or you're an idiot because you did that to you painted your car that color, or you put that exhaust on it.
But there's some people that probably do that. And you got to smack them around or get rid of them.
I'll warn them. I'll put them on, I call it a timeout, but with Facebook, you can put them out. You can put them on pause for 24 hours, 3 days, a week, or just, eliminate and block them or kick them out altogether. And I don't usually block people unless they've really gotten out of hand, and I don't even talk to them. I just kick them completely out and block them because they're horrible. They'll come at me. They'll say, "Who's the admin on here?" and he's not doing his job. And thinking, I'm like, guys,
it's a Facebook page.
Guys, I don't sit here 24/7 monitoring the page. I don't have a team of people monitoring the page. We're all most of us are working adults. We have lives. And I created this page because I wanted to create something that was mine. And it was fun and a good place to come to for information. And I'll tell you what, John, it's been really neat being the sole admin because I don't have to worry about anybody else getting in conflicts with the members on the page. It's just me. And I tell people when they message me because they're pissed off because I kicked them out, well, that's the other guy. And I go, he got kicked out too. But they're still going on. And they're just, all I said was, I go, I know what you said. I'll send you a picture of it. I did a screenshot. I know exactly what you said. I know the context it was set in. And that doesn't fly here. And then once I start narrowing it all down for them, laying it down for them, they're just like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, well, good luck to you in your car and have a nice one. I always try to close it professionally.
Yeah, as you should, yeah.
And I don't.
You don't need to stoop to their level.
I don't cuss at these guys. I don't, especially when they come at me rudely and they're cussing me out. I have every right to give them back what they're giving me and more. But I chose to take the high road, just like with almost everything I do. I'm not perfect, but I try to, because if I don't, I try to keep it professional on the page and off the page when I'm dealing with members, because I don't want them to see me as two different people. They need to see me as the same person.
Oh yeah, of course.
And if I handle myself the same way I handle myself on the page, then that shows a sense of loyalty and respect. That's okay. Well, he's not two different people. He's the same person. What you see is what you get. The rules are plain and simple. And I update the rules every time there's an event that happens.
Yeah, you should.
I always update. Okay, so this happened. I implement that in the rules. I put that in the rule, all right. And it's at the very top of the Facebook page, right underneath the header, the rule section. And it's their fault for not reading the rules. I go, the rules are simple, folks. It's black and white. You cannot call somebody out on the page. You cannot go after somebody's car or pick on them or there's no politics involved here. There's nothing going on here, nothing other than putting up car stuff and pictures and talking about what you've done to it. Information. It's an informational page. That's the way I want to keep it. We can have fun. But, people will try to slide something in, another car, or they'll slide something in there and try to back. Well, one guy told me one day, he said, he made a comment, which was a mistake for him to say. He said, I do what I want, I post what I want, right? That was the last comment he made. Because he was gone.
Well, it's like Patrick Swayze in the movie Roadhouse. It's like be nice. Right?
Oh, exactly.
Some people just don't have the right behavior, but it's cool. I mean, you started this just to sell like some stickers, and it's turned into this community of Z lovers.
Still haven't sold very many stickers, but I got much more than that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, exactly. I wanted something that I can build that was my baby, and all these people could appreciate it.
Yeah. And
all these people come on there, and it's a small world. I was at a Z event a couple years back, and up north, and I was wearing my S30 Life shirt. Mm-hmm. I only had one made, and by Ethan, the gentleman that passed away, made me a shirt, and we were supposed to be in projects to make more shirts. And, some things happened, it wasn't really a fallout, but he kind of, moved and did some other things, and we never really made that connection and finished it off. And I really love what he's done with something, because he's very brilliant and he was very, very, very good at what he did. And with decals, the decals that you see on the side of my Z, the red stripes, that was Ethan. He made those. Well, I came up with the idea. I mimicked what Pete Brock did with his design for the BRE car.
Right.
But my stripes were wider, my letters are larger, and it's one color. It's not two different colors. So it's basically a modification of the original design, and it's just a little different. And so we measured everything out, and I told him, this is what I want to do. He goes, how wide do you want it? I go, this is about how I want it, and this is how big I want the letters, and yada, yada, yada. And it came out beautiful. I mean, ever since we put those stripes on that car, And the car's white, so I'm a big fan of. I guess I'm a big fan of red and white now. It looks like a candy cane kind of deal. But
yeah,
ever since those stripes went on that car, the car had a whole new attitude. Cosmetically on that car, exterior wise, the only thing I've changed on that car since I bought it from Tony on the exterior was new bumpers, front and rear, new wheels and tires, and the stripes. That was it. The wheels set the car off, but the minute we put those stripes on there, holy moly, that thing attracts.
Oh yeah.
You're driving down the street because it's not just a white canvas. It's kind of like you look at a white sheet of paper when you were in junior high or high school. You're looking through a brand new book and it was just so white, and you just want to take a pen and start writing in it.
Yeah.
You've seen the books.
Yeah.
People like to write in those old books, from high school, and I kind of felt that way about that car. It was like an unpainted canvas. So I wanted to do something. I wanted to keep it subtle. So Ethan made those stripes for me. He also made, because I wanted to pay tribute to Tony, he copied off of Tony's website, and I wasn't going to sell these because it's Tony's. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to do any copyright infringement on anything. So, but I did it as a tribute. So Ethan mimicked his logo. And it said A to Z on it, and it had a checker flag type of thing on it. And he kind of made it different than the way Tony had it. But I wanted to be my own tribute to him.
Yeah, right on.
So it's on the back of the spoiler I have on the back of the wing, the spoiler back there.
Yeah.
It's back there on there. And so very subtle things I've done to that car.
But that's what makes it special for you. Yeah. Most other people probably wouldn't even notice it, right?
What's that? It's like nobody really has asked me about it because it's not really pronounced. It's just a small decal that's on the back, about yay big, about 3 inches or so up and down. And I don't even remember if anybody's ever asked me about it because the people closest to me all know. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so, for me, being a car enthusiast has been, one of those things that at the end, I'll be able to hang my hat on something that was very special, that I met a lot of wonderful people that were involved in the groups. Right now, I'm meeting some really, really neat young people that are with the Subaru group. And the fact that they brought me in was really, really cool. There's another Subaru group, San Diego Subies also, that I didn't really get involved with that group too much because I kind of gravitated towards the North County group. There's nothing saying that nothing personal or anything like that. I just you find a group that you just kind of click with a little bit better.
Sure.
And that's just what it is with these guys. And I've developed a really, really neat bond with a younger guy in the group, and he's the one that brought me in. He was talking me up, and he presented me my sticker, and I put it on my car, and it meant a whole lot. It really meant a lot to me. Hard to really explain in words, but it's one of those things where you actually felt really good to be part of something else,
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that just because I'm a Z car enthusiast, it doesn't mean I can't be an enthusiast with other vehicles. Some people have asked me because of the way I look, a big dude, and the way I am. I'm surprised you're not driving around a Mustang or a Camaro. Yeah. Well, ironically, my first 2 cars were Camaros, and I loved Camaros. But this is just kind of where I ended up at,
So the Subarus, it's interesting because they have their own kind of brand, their own niche that they live in, and it's a little bit of that outdoorsy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all-wheel drive cars. They're supposed to be driven out. They're supposed to be made to have fun with.
Right. So you see people taking them out like camping, and they'll go on the dirt trails and a little bit of almost like an enduro motorcycle.
Yeah, absolutely. My buddy Justin, who's one of my closest and dearest friends, he's the one that I was telling you about. That he works on my Z's, and he also does the maintenance on my STI. And he's very brilliant. He's very good with his hands. He's got a 73 240Z himself. And
he's another Subaru Z guy.
Absolutely.
There are probably very few of you that have that intersection.
He's got a lot of cars, but he's got a BRZ, 2016 BRZ, a Subaru BRZ. It's I don't know if you've seen them. They're little sports cars. They actually look like a wide version of a 240Z, but they're newer.
Okay.
And it's got a little back seat to it, a little jump seat back there. And then he drives also a WRX. I think it's a 2002. He's got stickers all over his cars. Stickers like crazy, but he's sponsored by a lot of groups and he races an awful lot. He'll autocross, he'll rallycross, he'll take cars to the big oval or the big track over there.
What's autocross and rallycross?
So autocross is when you're driving through the slaloms, the cones and everything like that, like on a blacktop.
Oh, like they do that at Qualcomm Stadium.
That's exactly right. That's Justin runs. A lot of my buddies run down there a lot.
Okay, that's autocross.
And rallycross is when you're doing it in dirt.
Ah, okay.
And that's where you really have fun with the Subarus because that they're made for, taking them. They're a rally car. They're made to take them off road and have fun with them. And so he does a lot of rally crossing, and he's been doing a lot of that with the BRZ.
Is it like a Volkswagen Scirocco, kind of like one of those categories?
I think so, but I'm not. I don't know a lot. I love the Scirocco's as a kid. I remember the commercial, Scirocco, and it's jumping. It's jumping off the street.
Yeah.
And I always loved them. I thought they were really neat cars, and. But I don't know, because they've been they're not even part of anything. I'm sure there might be some kind of cult following for them.
Scirocco's, that's like from the 80s and maybe the 70s, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen one in years.
But I always thought of them as sort of like that off-road racing kind of car.
The way they advertised it would seem that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how powerful they were.
So the autocross is on the blacktop. What was the other one?
Rallycross.
Rallycross. Okay, and then the other one you said is like an oval?
Well, you take it to a racetrack.
Okay.
It's not necessarily an oval, but it could be different designs. But it's like an actual racetrack.
But an asphalt racetrack.
Yeah, asphalt racetrack, yes. Well, where like a NASCAR cars would run on.
Right.
Like
at Sears Point, like up in the Bay Area, right?
Or we have an auto club speedway up by
Was it Verona?
No, it's up north. It's up by Riverside area.
Okay.
Actually, Galit and I and the kids went up there when they were little to go watch Danica Patrick race when she first came over to NASCAR. Ah. And they had the NASCARs up there. So
is it the Ontario one where they have the big NASCAR race? Is that what we're talking about?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But it's a track that's up there, and he races up there quite a bit. He'll go up there there's a lot of rally crossing up in that area, so he'll take the car up there and get it muddy. And he does a lot of drifting too. He likes to drift. He does that stuff. He's really heavily involved in that world, and it's a lot of fun. It costs a lot of money. Luckily, he's a great mechanic. He can fix when he breaks, and he has a lot of sponsorships. So that's another thing cool about the car group is you have a lot of people you get to know that either own shops or own tire companies, or own this or are sponsored by that, and you can get stuff at really cheap versus paying, retail for everything, get wholesale or even get some freebies out of it. It's just, a really neat industry or a really neat thing to be part of when you are in the car group, because if you take it seriously and you want to go far with it, you got to make friends that are in those areas, so that way
there must be varying levels of racing, because like when Pete Neal, been on this podcast numerous times. He's a big Corvette guy, and we went to the Long Beach Grand Prix, which was amazing. And it seemed like it was always like BMW and Corvette, and I don't know if Nissan was one of them. It might have been Toyota, I can't remember, but it was certain manufacturers, and it was that category of a race, like this Grand Prix on the city streets. But like you say, there's like these dirt races and all these other various versions.
Drag racing. Verona would be drag racing. Mm-hmm. I've done that before. I've taken the Z's down there before, and the Z's that I took down there at the time were mostly stock, so they weren't really that fast. But it's still fun to see what your car can do.
Well, I've gone to the Fremont drag strip up in the Bay Area when I was a kid, and I was always thinking, like, if you go to a drag strip, it's going to be like what was it, the mongoose, and what was that other guy that drove those funny cars, and they were like just made for drag strips.
Big Daddy Don Garlits was one of them.
Yeah, one of those guys.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah. But then you see people out there with their their car, that they've tricked out, and they go out there on a Thursday night and they race them.
So
it's cool.
One of the things that my buddy Justin put together was, I belong to another group called Motorsport Alliance, and that's all cars. And he's basically the head of that group, and there's no membership or anything like that. It's just a bunch of guys who are car enthusiasts and racers and things like that who want to get involved in autocrossing. Autocrossing is a very safe thing to do with your car. It does chew up the tires a bit, but at least you're getting out there and driving your car around these cones and learning what your car can actually do. The whole thing is it's not all about racing. It's about realizing what, it's basically being safe. Mm-hmm. You're in a safe environment. You're racing your car. Racing time is what you're doing. You're trying to get the best time you can, but you're realizing that, your car can do more than you thought it could. You're not just driving down a straight road, and then getting on a freeway and just cruising at 70 miles an hour or whatever. Yeah. It's actually taking it out and seeing what it's capable of in case you ever need to drive it that way. I mean, most people don't, but it's nice to know if you're going to buy a Porsche, you need to know how to drive it.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people will buy a Porsche and they don't know what the hell they're doing and they'll crash the car. Same thing with a high horsepower Corvette. But they have things involved now with these dealerships where if you buy a Porsche, like a 911 or a turbo or something like that, they have courses you can run, and they actually have you with a driver that'll teach you how to really, manipulate the car, drive it on the track. They have a track set up in the LA area. I have a buddy that
I've seen that one. It's off the 405, and that's Nissan, isn't it?
I don't know. There's this one is through Porsche.
Okay, maybe it is Porsche, yeah. And it's right near sort of like Long Beach area.
Yeah.
I've seen that there.
So it's another buddy of mine who was actually an instructor. So a person buy a brand new car, and before they take ownership of a car, they pay for a schooling. So you go up there and you learn how to drive the car, how it's supposed to handle, and all that stuff. And he's making pretty good money doing that. He hasn't done it in a while, but it was really cool to hear him tell the stories about how he went about doing that. So
see Corvette, I think Pete was saying Corvette has something similar where they have a racetrack right next to one of their facilities, and you could take your car out on that track. There's Corvette people, and you learn what the car can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's cool.
I think more people should do that. I think more people should take defensive driving and take their car out on an autocross to see, so they don't panic when their car maybe loses a little control, maybe hydroplanes, or maybe they're going around a corner too fast and it starts to get away from them. They know how to recover from that.
Right.
And I highly recommend it. I was never a big autocross fan. I had fun when I did it. I'm kind of an oval kind of guy,
Right.
It's I would get confused in the slaloms going through the cones, because the cones are coming at you different directions. They're tough. And the only best way to combat that is to do it regularly, because they switch the courses up all the time.
Right.
So, because basically what that's teaching you is, okay, you got to be ready for anything. Luckily, you're going 35, 40 miles an hour. It feels a lot faster than that, but you're not going that much faster, so that's why I feel it's very safe. In my opinion, anybody can do it. Any car is welcome out there as long as it's a car. They don't usually take big trucks, lifted trucks, or anything like that, unless if they're lowered or something. But you could take the Volkswagen out there. You could take your car out there, and go out there and run it, just for your own benefit.
Well, it's good that they have those kinds of sanctioned events, so you don't get a bunch of yahoos like racing on city streets at 2 a.m. and and then something terrible happens, right?
Well, that's the thing that concerns me about what's going to happen with the stadium, is because the racers are all concerned. There's been guys that have been racing for 30 years or more down there, more than 30 years. There's some oldies that are down there racing still at that stadium, and they want to, we're not really 100% sure what they're going to do with it. It sounds like they're going to tear it down and make it into some kind of, more extend San Diego State and build a small football field out there or something like that for the Aztecs, which is cool. But honestly, I still think they need to keep a nice large portion of that for the auto enthusiasts to go out there and run.
It's valuable real estate. And,
That's
very wishful
valuable
thinking. I think it's going to go away.
Yeah, I think so too. It's unfortunate. So it's one of those things that's a luxury that us San Diegans are going to lose, because the drag racing, I believe they stopped the drag racing down there. You have to go to Barona for that if you want to do it.
Right.
And the autocrossing is probably going to be next. And as an enthusiast, it's kind of sad because you are missing out on opportunities to really enjoy yourself and have a good time and be safe about it. You wear a helmet. You're supposed to be required to wear a helmet. And they have instructors there that have been doing it for years that will ride with you if you're not comfortable, help you get through the track. And you get a chance to see how safe or how not safe your car really is and what needs to be done with it. By the time you're done with your vehicle, you would have learned, by the time you're done with a full day of autocross, you would have really learned some things about yourself and about your vehicle. It's really important because you put a 16-year-old nowadays behind 300 plus horsepower cars, and it can get away from them easily. I mean, I've heard horror stories of teenagers and what they've done because they couldn't control the power. Best thing you could do as a parent or as somebody who's working with a youngster is put them in an autocross environment and teach them, defensive driving. Teach them about the car. Okay, if you hit the gas, it's going to go. So you need to know when to apply the pressure and when not to.
Right.
When to brake and when not to.
And then how to, there's another shout out to Pete. The apexes and the apogees and all that.
Yeah.
How to take those turns right. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not Mr. Knowledgeable when it comes to the autocrossing and racing part of it. I have a small taste and a little hand in it. A couple of my buddies would be perfect for that conversation next time.
I'd be interested.
And they would be able to explain more in detail and in more professional ways on how to break it down for you a little bit better. But because I have a little experience in it, I'm just sharing what I've learned from it.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is a little bit of a tangent, but one of the things that I enjoy doing as an electric car driver is I'm not interested in racing it. I'm interested in maximizing energy. And so one time I drove my car from here to Albuquerque and back. And there,
Really?
Oh yeah. And in California, there's quite a bit of charging stations. When you get out into the desert, there's a lot less. When you get into eastern Arizona and all of New Mexico, there are very, very few charging stations. And so for me, I got this perverse joy of like making it like a treasure map, a treasure hunt. And you'd figure out the distance and can I make it? And then you're worried about going up hills and burning energy.
Wow,
And then you take for granted as a regular car driver that there are gas stations on almost every exit. But the charging stations, they're building a lot more now.
Yeah.
Every day they seem to be putting in more. But I did that trip out to Albuquerque last April, and it was just fun.
How many miles is it one way?
It's about 800.
So you did a trip there and back, but you charged.
Oh, yeah, I charged multiple times.
All right, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. So my car will get, it's rated at 258 miles of full charge, but I drive it like a grandma, so I can get up to about 300.
Oh, okay.
And so when I'm out in those long stretches of desert, I can make it to the next stop. But so I've been told though that there are people that have competitions to see who can maximize energy the most, and they basically do it through an app, and then people sign in, and it's almost like a race, but in a weird way. It's like who can take that full amount of energy and get the most possible miles out of it.
Wow.
And so it's just funny how there's all of these different kinds of ways that people use their cars in fun ways that give them joy,
Oh, without a doubt. That's pretty interesting because my car doesn't get very good gas mileage.
Right. Yeah.
and I try to figure out ways to, like you were saying, about the electric car. I try to figure out ways to see how I can get more mileage out of it. I mean, it's a 4-cylinder, but it's over 300 horsepower, and it takes the high octane fuel. It's 91 octane, and I'm just trying to stretch it as long as I can.
But when you have that much power,
that car is thirsty.
Yeah, and
very thirsty.
Right, and it wants to be driven, sort of aggressively, right?
Yeah, it does. It reacts so well when you're just getting in on it. It's so much fun. It likes the corners, but I didn't buy it for economy. I bought it to have.
Of course.
I daily drive it every day, but I drove it because I wanted something that was going to give me pleasure when I drove. I wanted something that was going to be fun and exciting, and I'm not reckless by any means. I don't drive it hard, and I'm probably not worthy of the vehicle because of my lack of experience racing and taking it out and just really beating it up. But I tend to really enjoy my cars and like the way they look, and don't like to spend a lot of money fixing things that I broke on them because of how I drove them. Well, some of my buddies will say, well, you're supposed to drive it hard. You're supposed to do this, supposed to do that. Yeah, well, I'm not supposed to have it into the shop every other day either because I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I want the car to last. I bought the car and I want to enjoy it for about, many years down the road. So that's another thing. One of the things that scares me about the electric cars, you mentioned that there weren't a whole lot of charging stations. So it's 800 miles one way
to Albuquerque.
So it's like over about 1,600 miles round trip.
Yeah.
Wow. How many times did you have to you have to charge up?
I think I maybe 3 times along the way. But I had to I have to very carefully plot out my course.
Well, how long does it take to charge your car for a full charge?
To go from 0 to 80%, about an hour. And so, if I plan it around lunchtime or, it's cool. It's no big deal. But I don't know, I just kind of got like I said, a perverse joy out of it. And then I don't gun it, I kind of milk it as I'm driving just to maximize the energy as I go. So yeah, it's for me, it's fun. I took my little BMW i3 one time, which only has 80 miles of electric charge. And then it had a little motorcycle engine in the back that would turn on. It was gas engine that would recharge the batteries. And I drove that from San Diego to Vegas and back, which was something because I could only get electric charging up to Baker. It was Baker. And then from between Baker and Vegas, there was only one charging station, and it was at Prim, right on the borderline. And that charging station didn't work. And so, but I had a little gas engine that would get me a little bit of the way. But for me, it was just like this challenge. Like, can I drive this electric car through the desert from San Diego to Vegas?
You made the rest of the way on that gas engine?
Yeah. I had to stop one time for gas, and I brought with me an extra tank of gas just in case, like a little red container.
Wow. That's
because I wanted to see if I could do it.
That's gutsy. I don't know. I don't know if I could have done that, but that's pretty cool though to hear that. That's wow. And that little motor got you there.
Right. But I went 100% electric from San Diego to Baker.
How many miles is it from San Diego to Baker? You're talking about Bakersfield, right?
No, Baker. You know where the world's largest thermometer is?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the 15. And I think from here to Barstow, I think is halfway. So Baker.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, or maybe Baker's halfway. I think Barstow's halfway. Baker to Vegas is probably, 150 miles maybe? I think it's like 350 from San Diego to Vegas, I think. So I went, probably about, I went 100% electric from San Diego to Baker, but I had to charge multiple times along the way.
Okay.
But that car, like I said, only got 80 miles on a full charge. My Hyundai Kona gets up to 300. Big difference.
Wow.
Yeah. But you got to be careful how you plot it out. So anyways, it's fun to talk, with you about cars. And it's just different how I kind of deal with my own cars. It's just a whole different game.
And that's what makes the conversations about these cars interesting.
It is.
It's fun because I didn't know that. I didn't know you did that, and I thought that's really cool. I thought that you made an adventure out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what vehicle ownership is all about. It's adventure.
Yes.
And some people don't look at cars that way. A lot of matter of fact, I would, basically, assume that most people just look at them as a tool. to get them from point A to point B. It's my car. I got to get to work. That's all they think of it.
But in Southern California, it's a reflection, of, your image, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, because in Southern California, everything is image.
Yeah.
The way you look, the clothes you wear, the car you drive.
Yes.
I
mean, we can criticize that all we like, but it's reality, I'm
not going to criticize that because it's like one of those things where it's just how we live here, unfortunately. It's part of who we are. And we, you judge a person by the cover, unfortunately, by everything they do. In Southern California, I think, is known for that. But it's fine either way. It doesn't make a person a bad person or not. It just means that we're just designed differently in how we think on those things and how important they are.
It's funny. We were talking with our financial planner, and she made a comment to us, and she said, "You'd be surprised how many people are driving around in like really nice BMWs or Mercedes that don't have a nickel to their name, that are just scraping by, nothing in their checking account, big credit card debt, because they just have to have that image."
I knew friends like that. They overextend themselves buying certain vehicles or buying or renting a place they couldn't afford, or, just completely overextending themselves.
Yeah.
You're going to overextend yourself. That's going to sustain you long term. Whether you buy a piece of real estate,
right?
That's if you buy your first house and it's more than you can really afford, but you buy it and you sit on it for a while, and you really, if you have to work extra hours or pick up another job to make that mortgage payment, in the long run, it's your nest egg having that house. Mm-hmm. My real estate agent told us years ago, overextend yourself with real estate. You'll thank me later. We've done that, and it's bitten us on the rear end before, but for the majority part of our lives, my wife and I and the investments we made have been very good. And if you look at what our houses are worth now and what we paid for them.
Well, it's funny because when you get a house in the very beginning, you look at that mortgage payment, you're like, gulp. But then 10, 20 years later, it's like, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be because everything changes.
Yeah.
But overextending yourself is interesting because if you're if you're making an investment that has long-term sustainability, that's great. If you're making an investment in yourself, if you're spending money to be trained, to build more skills, so that you can then convert that into additional income, then that makes sense too.
Oh, absolutely. Knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. The more skill set you have, the more income potential you can bring to the table.
Exactly.
If you know how to weld, for instance, let's say you go get a couple skilled trades. Well, if you know how to weld and you know how to do electrical, and you're skilled in my brother does he's fire sprinkler system. He works in construction. He makes a lot of money doing what he does. And if you have those kind of skills, how many doors you think you can knock on there looking for somebody like you?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And you could basically name your price. You could be making a 6-figure income just on going to, a school for 6 months, learning how to, be a plumber or be a pipe fitter or, like I said, be a welder or electrician. And you could be coming out of there making, $30, $40, $50, $80, the sky's the limit. Whatever your skill set is going to pay you. Now, a lot of kids coming out of college these days with $100,000 in debt, if they pick the wrong field to go into, they either going to have 0 jobs or very minuscule paid jobs with a college education.
Right.
There's a lot of guys out there I can tell you right now that are making into the 6 figures because they're and they're not in a IT field. They don't have a college degree. What they have is a strong work ethic. They pick the right path to go down, whether it's construction, whether it's fabrication. Whatever it is that didn't take a college education to get them there, and hard work, awful lot of hard work. There's entrepreneurs out there that are, people who bought and sold real estate, who never spent a day in college and are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, just because they went down that path and picked that path. Some people are a big advocate of schooling, and I am as well. I want my kids to graduate and get their college degree. I didn't graduate, and my wife has a degree, and that was my choice. And I make decent money, but I could have done better had I got more skills for myself, even if I went to a trade school.
Sure.
So I'm a big advocate of it. I love trade schools. I think they have a lot to bring to the table. I think if you're going to go to college and rack up those kind of bills, you better start thinking about what it is that's current now and where you're going to be able to make a good living off of that education. Because if you don't, you're going to be working at some minuscule little job, paying you next to nothing, trying to pay back a student loan and try to take care of yourself.
With a degree in European art history, So, yeah. But, the good thing is now today I'm a huge advocate. With the internet, it is unbelievable how much online learning is available, how you can build skills in making podcasts. You can learn skills to, do a lot of IT work, and you can do it right from your home computer. It's amazing how everything is changing now.
Technology has been a wonderful thing. It's good and bad. And, if I have to throw a black cloud in it, social media is one of those, entities that could be good and bad, and, networking is great. Social media is very good for networking. And when you want to find information or learn something, it could be very useful tool. It could be a very useful tool. Unfortunately, you deal with a lot of people out there that aren't willing to be part of that positive part of the learning process of social media and what you can learn from it. It's an unfortunate deal. This is like we talked about with my page. I'm a car enthusiast, and sometimes you have to weed out the bad eggs. And if they don't have anything to bring to the table, then what are you here for? All right, if you're an enthusiast, that's great. You want to learn, you want to offer information, great. But if you're here to ruffle feathers and to create havoc in this particular area, you're not going to be welcome. And that's one of the things that, with social media, you have to kind of weed that out. It's a give and take. You have to realize what you're going to deal with when you deal with people on a daily basis, what they're offering or what they're sending your way. And, it's you're going to learn something that day. It might not be what you wanted to learn that day,
right?
But you're going to learn something. Mm-hmm. So, it's one of those things that I've learned through social media that, if you want to be a certain type of person, you could easily get pulled into those type of groups or that type of entity. So I choose to look at other aspects that bring me a better mind frame, car enthusiast, entrepreneurial stuff, things in that nature, things that can help me in the future. I love positive mentors, people that have gone out, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos of different fitness people, people like Tony Robbins, that kind of stuff. They get out there and they're motivational speakers. I love motivational speakers because that's something I would love to do because they have a lot to bring to the table. They're trying to help people. And I've been listening to a lot of them. There's a former powerlifter, CT Fletcher, and he had a heart transplant surgery about a year or so ago, and it's pretty major. He's about 60 years old now, wow. And it's pretty cool to listen to him. He cusses an awful lot. He's from Compton, and and he's recognized as the Compton Superman, and he broke a lot of records as a powerlifter, and he's amazing. Listen to him speak, It's one of those things that I really enjoy. If you're a good speaker, you can really grab the people you're talking to, and you can give them a visual of what it is you're actually speaking about. And it's you're sitting there going, wow, okay, that's something I can really listen to. And you're taking in everything that he's saying. And the way he tells a story, and he's got this voice to him that commands attention kind of deal. But the way he delivers the stories. You got to pull him up. Look him up. He's a lot of fun.
What's his name again?
CT Fletcher.
CT Fletcher.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a power lifter and heart transplant survivor. He's having his struggles, and he's still doing his thing. Very powerful words from this guy.
Nice.
The cuss words he uses are exclamations, but he's fun to interact with people that train at his gym and stuff like that. He gets really involved. He's on a whole different level. But there's other people that I really enjoy listening to also, and there's motivation. You listen to Sylvester Stallone when he does some of the Rocky skits in the movies, and he talks to his son or whatever, and he says something. They also throw those in there, and then there's Denzel Washington. He's a brilliant man. I love listening to him. There's quite a few other people out there, and I use YouTube for music. But it's funny. On the way to work, I decided I'm not going to listen to any music. I'm going to listen to somebody motivate me, give me some motivational speaking. So I'm in my cool car.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the rumble, of the STI motor, and I decide. No music. I'm going to listen to something that motivates me while I'm going to work, because it's obviously not the happiest place for me to go to every day, but I make it happy. I make it fun. So I'm on my way to work and I'm listening to different people. It's a long one, so it breaks it down to different people speaking, and they all have their own little skits. And it's fun. And it makes for a fun ride when you're having fun driving your car, but then you're also listening to something else that kind of gets you somewhat motivated for the day, especially when you're starting your day out. I love listening to all kinds of music, but that was something I wanted to change it up a little bit.
So you got to listen to podcasts now, and so that's what I do now. I rarely listen to music in my car. I mean, it's very rare. So I'm always listening to podcasts or I'm listening to talk radio.
So that's something I'll talk with you off the air on with different podcasts, because I was doing podcasting there for a while back on a online website called Spreaker.
Yeah.
And that was fun, quite a few years ago when I was doing it. I think it was back in 2011. I met some really neat people on there and then had some battles too, But, Spreaker was really cool because they had a free account and you could do it for a half hour and you could record it and everything like that. But this setup is really neat because it's something that I would like to do on my own, or I'd love to do more with you. But there's some things I'd probably talk to you about and just kind of pick your brain on, just kind of, what podcasting you listen to, because there's a lot of really neat information out there. And I think it's good information for people who may see this and be interested in listening to some of those podcasts and where to go to find them, because there's different topics on all these podcasts.
Yeah.
It could be motivational. It could be political. It could be automotive, like we discussed. It could be sports. Yeah. And there's all realms out there. So I think it's good because you get tired of listening to music once in a while. Sometimes you want something different. You want to hear somebody talking, because sometimes I used to listen to talk radios. Sports 1090 when it was on.
The mighty 1090.
Yeah,
I did a whole podcast episode on that.
Oh man, it was good. It was pretty good back in the day.
Yeah,
I like listening to talk radio because they're fun. They're just people like you and I just sitting there talking.
Right.
I'm going, you get paid to sit there and talk?
Yeah.
I go, man, that's what I do every day.
I know.
At work. People give me a hard time about it, but I love people. I really do. I enjoy, in the business that I'm in, I really enjoy meeting people every day and talking with them and the energy I get from them.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that I've gotten out of 31 years in the grocery industry is building relationships with people that are just become friends. And it's a really interesting thing. For me, I'm living, for a social person like myself, it's a dream come true to be in a position where I'm around so many people and I get to meet people. It's also, it kind of wears you down some days. You deal with other people that aren't as friendly, and it kind of it's hard.
Yeah.
You deal with people, you deal with customers, things like that, and in your line of work, it's not always easy dealing with people.
No,
but when you've got hundreds or people coming in and you're dealing with them all day long, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just going to go to the back for a while and work back there and come out for a short spell. And I'll usually see somebody I know. And because I work locally, I see a lot of people that I already know that are friends.
Yeah, neighbors.
Which has been really cool for me. So, I have a lot of fun with that.
Well, Mike, you're always welcome to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And we have so much to talk about, so much to share. And doing this podcast is just a ton of fun, and we get to share what we think and have a little fun with it and learn. We learn. And I think people are going to learn in this episode a great deal about, the Nissans and Datsuns and Subarus and the things that we covered.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. I learned a lot. I think some people listening to this podcast are going to learn as well.
Well, like I said, I might not be the most informed person when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I just have a passion for it.
You're better than you think you are. That's your motivational note right there.
All right, I'll take it.
Because tons more than me. I mean, so you gave me a ton of information that was very valuable. And sure, there's probably some other guru that knows a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
But don't shortchange yourself.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, that's a win.
Okay, so let's wrap this up, and we'll have you back, and we'll explore some things outside of cars next time.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All righty.
Bye-bye.